The Herstory Films Project was recently launched by a collective of feminist writers, educators and filmmakers who are keen on creating spaces for Malaysian women to come together and learn how to share their stories with others using broadcast media. The project seeks to collect stories about love, sex and desire from Malaysian women with an emphasis on diversity and personal experiences of falling in and out of love in a distinctly Malaysian context. Malaysia Kini recently speaks to Herstory Films Project team Smita Sharma, Bernice Chowli and Miss Lina Mustafa to find out more about the project.
I think the idea is to get women to tell their own stories as individuals, and it's sort of us pushing, well, some of us are in it, I am in it, to push back against people who, academics perhaps, or politicians or ulama, whatever it is, experts, self-proclaimed or otherwise, who give you an aggregate of women's stories, and perhaps one woman becomes every woman, or you get a whole bunch of women and you just take their stories and say, this is the woman's story. And I see what her story is doing is, it's really just saying, no, you don't have this one woman, you have so many women, and they really don't fit our easy imagination of what a Malaysian woman is and how she loves and what it is she desires. And the only way to really find out what there is, because it's also an empirical question, is to just go out and ask women, what are your stories?
I think for Malaysia, the fact that we have no freedom of expression, you know, the first thing they tell you is no sex, no race, no politics, no religion. And this is integral to who we are as human beings. I mean, where do we stand politically? How do we feel about ourselves sexually? How do we feel about our race, and how do we feel about our religion? If we are not even allowed to talk about stuff like this, then we basically negate ourselves. And it's even harder as women, because you know, women in Asian societies traditionally are seen as subservient, quiet. You're not allowed to say, you just put up with everything, you just keep it and suppress and suppress and suppress. And that's why I feel that this is a timely project. It resonates with what I'm doing with myself, because I'm looking at my family stories. So it just makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Apa salahnya bercakap? Saya rasa tak salah kan. So all these women should be educated, should be educated, diberi pengetahuan tentang their hak, their rights. Walaupun untuk tidak melakukan, tapi sekurang-kurangnya untuk bercakap, ya, macam tu.
These stories will never leave us. I think what happened 200 years ago and what's happening now, these stories don't change. It's how we change our environment. It's the fact that, yes, I have been subjected to, let's say, an abusive partner or whatever for many years, and this has happened a long time ago. It will continue to happen. It's what we do with it, whether you choose or whether you go. It's all about choice.
They get to tell their own stories, not just in order to, I don't know, speak back to media reports of like what a woman is, but also to understand themselves, or for us women to understand ourselves as people who desire actively, not just people who are to be desired.
Saya menginginkan satu, wanita-wanita yang ingin menyatakan tentang keinginan seksual mereka secara terus terang, because there's nothing wrong with that, kan? Kalau lelaki boleh menyatakannya secara terus terang, wanita pun boleh. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong to say out what you really want, what you really feel.
When you decide to tell a story, whether it's personal or not, you're taking a risk anyway, because you have to basically put yourself in the line of fire, so to speak, and you're not expected to please everyone. Not everyone's going to like what you have to say. Not everyone's going to be able to accept it or understand it or even like it, but that's fine. I think it's a certain kind of empowerment. You know, if you've been through something that is very traumatic or something that is great and joyful. I mean, you know, two examples could be sort of childbirth and death. And if you articulate it in a certain way, because I always believe if there is no scar, there is no story. And women have a lot of scars, and we wear them with pride. So we have to be able to tell our stories.
Don't just talk about a woman, but say, hey, women, like, come in, learn how to write your scripts. That's also a part of what Herstory does. We teach you how to write a script. Of the submissions, we choose 20 and make them into scripts, and we invite the writers to actually work with us on that process. So they're learning a certain skill, and then to make films as well. And I think that sort of participation is really what the art world can provide.
The general rule of thumb is, I think most female writers, is that you write about what you know first, and then you write about what you don't know. For me, it's always been the first case. My poems are very personal. Some people like it, some people don't. It's unfortunate that the main reviewers of my work have been men, which which has not been very encouraging, because I speak for a very distinct feminine voice. My voice is very feminine, and it is the voice of a woman who has been through a lot, someone who has been through marriage and divorce and childbirth and motherhood, and someone who is basically exploring her craft and herself as she grows older. And there are very few women like that here. I'm sad to say that I wish women would write about themselves more, because I sometimes feel that I'm kind of in a vacuum. You know, there are all these people I know, all these women I know who are doing things, but at the same time, it takes a lot of courage to be able to bear yourself and to talk about an incident that is so horrific that people just think, what? Wow, my God, you talked about that? How can you? I mean, it's so personal, it's so private. You should leave some things for yourself that shouldn't be so public, you know. I disagree.
Saya selalu dapat watak-watak wanita yang menderita, yang pada akhirnya perempuan-perempuan ni kena berdiri sendiri, kena bergerak sendiri. Boleh pun, tak mati pun, kan? In fact, kalau you buat dalam cara yang betul, bukan cara yang betul, bukan. Semua cara tak betul kalau ikut semua orang, kan? Betul tak? Cara yang betul untuk diri you, kan, one fine day orang akan melihat you sebagai seorang yang sekurang-kurangnya ada pendirian and tahu apa you nak buat, right? Tapi kebanyakan filem-filem kita di sini, kebanyakannya yang ditonton oleh rakyat Malaysia di TV selalu menunjukkan watak-watak wanita yang langsung tak ada personality, langsung tak ada daya juang, dan dia orang tu hanya layak untuk, you know, untuk cinta, kereta, kasut, handbag dan sebagainya, dan langsung tak ditunjukkan tentang keupayaan mereka berfikir. Sedangkan kita ada banyak wanita-wanita yang bijak, kan?
If it's going to help you, if it's going to benefit you, if it's going to free you, empower you, move you along in your path, in this journey, then do it.
We want to keep the individual in the story, not lose her voice. So if you write the story, it's your voice, and that's what's unique about Herstory, I think.
Untuk semua writer-writers kat luar sana, tidak ada apa yang perlu ditakutkan di dalam proses anda untuk berterus terang, kan? Dia memang sakit, tapi that's it.